Salutations, listeners.
Valar Magulis.
Nanu. Thank you for tuning in. This is Three Men and a Basement, and we are the Ultra Crepidarians. My name is Colin McLeod.
Mark Cobb here.
Action Jackson.
In this movie review podcast, we like to review movies.
I enjoy it.
I particularly enjoy it, yes.
I'm kind of lukewarm on it.
Quite.
You better step it up.
Oh man, I gotta whip myself into shape here.
Yeah.
In this show, we review movies and we deliver to you, the listener, an average schmuck's opinion about hidden gems in the wide world of cinema. In this show, we try and target movies that are not total blockbuster smashes. We also try and target ones that are not so obscure that you couldn't get your hands on a copy even if you wanted to. Instead, we aim for that delightful sweet spot right in the middle. Movies that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. Maybe your brother mentioned it 3 Thanksgivings ago and you're saying, do I need to see that? Do I?
Well, sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. But that's where we come in.
That's
right?
where we come in. We tell you that. We're going to hit you with some early specs, some descriptions of the film, some things that'll give you just a little taste of what's going on.
Just a nibble.
But then what happens?
Then we spoil the shit out of it.
All over it.
We spoil this movie, and we give you our recounting of this film along with our opinions, maybe a scene score or two, and you get to decide whether or not you track it down and pop it in the old 8mm reel.
Yeah.
Ooh, I preferred 8/9 myself. 9mm.
It was too rich.
Yeah.
Way too big.
Yeah, it hit a little harder than I wanted it to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might say it was a millimeter too big.
Right. Just take a little millimeter off. Not a big millimeter.
No.
Small. One of the smaller.
mean,
One of the smaller millimeters.
We can all agree that size matters.
So much. That's what I'm told.
That's what my wife says.
Yep. I'm sorry. And I'm really. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
We're here for you.
Let's just get through this. Let's just
bad.
get through this.
This is
Breathe
bad,
through.
guys. All right. In this, the 60th.
60th. My mistake.
The 60th episode of the podcast. And to be fair, no other episodes have been more 60 than this episode.
No.
This is the most 60.
This is the 60th episode. We reviewed the movie.
They live.
They do live.
They live.
John Carpenter?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
because this is a nice round number, ends in a 5 or a 0, what does that mean?
That means this was a user-submitted film.
Which tends to sometimes be a little unpredictable, but I kind of like them.
Yeah.
I kind of like keep them coming.
Yeah. If you want to submit a film, we got a movie submission form on our website. Honestly, if you email us, we'll send it right to you. We're nice like that. We're good guys.
Yeah.
He's nice. He's nice like that.
Who do we have to thank for this submission today?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I believe his name is pronounced Ian Lenar.
Oh, I thought it was Jan.
No, it's a heavy A.
Yeah.
Ian.
Ian.
Yeah, it's,
Ian.
I think he's from the Midwest. So.
Probably. Yeah.
Ian Lenar.
Ian Lenar.
that's how they all speak.
That's it. You got to throw it up into the nose.
Yeah. Like Michael Bublé sings.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, Ian Lenar, big fan of the show. He recommended this movie, and we're going to read his submission notes later in the podcast at the end, so as not to give out any nuggets of detail.
No premature whip-up-went.
No premature synopsis. Synopsilation. Synopsilation?
Ejaculates. Sorry.
Ejaculations.
Ejaculation.
We'll come up with something.
Plotulations.
Plotulations. I think I just plotulated a little bit.
I swear this has never happened before. You're just so attractive.
It's okay. It happens to everybody.
The movie's so good.
Yeah.
I plotulated.
Very good. Very good.
They Live. 1988 film. Rated R. Thoughts?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
R in every way.
Wait, hang on. Give me a second to try to be contrary. What could we do to...
Very Mark.
Yeah, it's rated R. It's rated R.
I don't think there's anything you could cut from this movie that wouldn't make it rated R and still hold the integrity of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Like,
it's a
this
well-rounded
is one,
R.
if you poked out all of the bits that made it R, you would have more whole than plot.
Agreed. It's a very well-rounded R. 1 hour and 34 minutes.
Honestly, didn't feel like it.
Yeah, it went along.
This went fast.
Yeah. Like, you could feel it starting to wrap up. Like, it doesn't always happen that way, but, like, I think, like, halfway through the movie, like, you kind of, like, see where it was going, but not in, like, a predictable, boring way, but just in a...
okay, this is what it's about kind of way.
Yeah, and I'm still very much here for it.
So here's my take, and you might have more insight into this, but would you say that most 80s action flicks kind of all fall into that same category of like...
Good.
The beginning is sort of just like 45 minutes of prep time, and then the second half is all like the result, and right about 20 minutes to the end you can just feel it starting to
They're like, all right, let's tie up some loose ends.
Yeah.
All right, this person dies, that person gets hitched.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, blah blah blah, bad guy fight scene's coming, I can see it's coming to a head, blah blah blah.
And maybe it's just because I associate 80s flicks with John Carpenter, because John Carpenter's a fucking magician. I mean, Escape from LA, Escape from New York, Halloween, the whole Michael Myers.
He's fine, but to be honest, I mean, he's no John Plummer.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Or John Mason.
Right.
I mean, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine, but as far as, the trade Johns are concerned...
Yeah, he's not quite as sharp as John Electrician either.
John Electrician he's a sparky motherfucker.
Over the pond is John Sparky, but
he's got those working hands.
Yeah.
And he put them to use.
And he hits the nail right on the head.
Right. That's good. The director's name is John Carpenter.
In case you missed all of the heavy-handed Carpenter jokes.
Yeah.
Should we cherry this before we go into synopsis?
Yeah, this is actually good because I feel like it's more lopsided than usual.
Right.
I've seen this movie within the last year.
Oh, really? That recently?
Yeah, I jam on this.
I have seen this movie probably 4 or 5 times, but I probably haven't seen it in about 15 years.
Amazingly, I have never seen this movie, which I say that because I've seen just about all of John Carpenter's films. So this one skated right under the radar for me.
Which is great, because it's simultaneously novel, but also...
so familiar.
Content that you're definitely, primed to enjoy.
Yeah, the second I heard that John Carpenter directed this movie, I was like, it couldn't happen fast enough, because I fucking love his films. John Carpenter and George Romero both fucking love their films.
Mucho good.
Oh.
And this is also, I would say, pound for pound, among our better known films that we've reviewed. They live. I think it started with a cult following. I think John Carpenter in the late 80s did have a good reputation. He'd already done Halloween and he'd done, Escape from New York at that time. But I also feel like his films filled, at that point, a sort of niche market that has become a little bit more mainstream in recent years. And I think, as a result, a lot of people have seen this movie. So this is probably a little bit more akin to, Adventures in Babysitting.
Yes.
In terms of its notoriety.
Right.
In my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I agree.
And the funny thing is, a lot of people are probably familiar with part of this movie and don't know why. And we'll get into that later.
Yeah, it lives within our, pop culture, All right, so who is in this movie?
Oh, I'm so excited for this. It's worth saying this guy is a man, a myth, and a legend. The illustrious Roddy Piper. God, this guy...
What's he done?
Fucking amazing. So he was from the NWA, World Wrestling
Right along
Federation.
Eazy-E and Ice Cube.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, he was in Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody loves Hell Comes to Frogtown. But is it as good as They Live? Yes, definitely. It's way better. Everybody loves it.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nobody makes a better actor than a retired pro wrestler.
Honestly, when they hit the point where, they're done wrestling and this is all they got, they're giving it their best.
Oh, yeah.
And their best is weird and cheesy, but I appreciate it.
Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, Dave Bautista. The fact that everybody calls Dwayne Johnson The Rock before they call him Dwayne Johnson, and that is just his name now. And
Right.
I can't say Roddy Piper without saying Roddy Piper, because that's who he was.
Yeah.
I will say one exception, though, is pro wrestlers nowadays that shift into that, they go gentlemanly.
Yeah.
As a way to juxtapose what they were, John Cena's he's always wearing a fucking suit.
Yeah.
The Rock is always very kind and polite. It's just kind of his ethos. This was cigarette smoking, rough and tumble.
Oh.
The shit.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Oh.
Versus Hulk Hogan, who, made it into Mr. Nanny in a tutu.
Yeah. Or
Very correct.
Macho Man Randy Savage, who is the face of Slim Jims to this day.
Bonesaw! Bonesaw is
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. God
so fucking badass. It's
Are you
so
guys
good.
familiar with The
so
Cream
good.
Rises to the Top?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I fucking love that one. The cream rises to the top.
all right.
So good.
So we,
Oh,
we also have Keith David. This man.
Two
is-
first names. So first of all, he's coming for your first names, people.
Oh, he's
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 going to
coming for
collect
sure.
your first names. You know, by the end of this century, he could be Keith, David, John, Stephen, Greg.
Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Yeah. So I think his face is so recognizable.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
But when I'm looking at his filmography, he's got Princess and the Frog. Nobody saw his face there. I think he.
But he's got a very distinctive voice.
Yeah.
He is definitely one of those actors that, like, you know his fucking voice.
He's Goliath from fucking Gargoyles,
Yeah,
man.
and you
Like,
know
shit.
his face.
So good.
But he's also been in another John Carpenter film, The Thing. My favorite film of all time.
He plays Childs in The Thing. And, again, if you've seen The Thing, you know exactly who we're fucking talking
So
about.
good.
Armageddon, he was also General Kimsey. He does well as a general, again, because he's got a very kind of like raspy but commanding voice. Really badass dude.
Yeah, but like his voice acting credits probably overshadow his film credits by a large margin. I mean, Rick and Morty, Masters of the Universe, Has Been Hotel, like a bajillion kids movies, as well as adult animation. Like, this guy's everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what you think about this. I don't think there's anybody else in this film that anybody would recognize.
I think a passing resemblance. Like, there was one actor in this film that I recognized from somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where. Peter Jason. I only figured it out by looking at IMDb. He was in Escape from L.A., another John Carpenter movie, and Mortal Kombat.
And another collector of first names.
Yes.
But Keith David's going to take his ass.
Oh, absolutely.
If Keith David kills him, he will be Keith David Peter Jason, which is way scarier.
Oh,
let's all like just kind of quake in fear of
KDPJ.
KDPJ. KDPJ, like KMFDM. KDPJ. That is a band name. KDPJ.
KMFDM. I haven't thought about that band in forever.
KDPJ. Wait, fucking hang on. KDPJ. Fucking nailed it.
Noise.
Okay,
But yeah, that's it.
what is this movie about, though? We haven't really gotten there yet.
Right. I think we know a guy that could probably tell us a little bit about it.
Who?
Oh, God, it's coming to me. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Think, Jackson. Think.
It's gonna be.
What are you doing?
Is it Richard? Is it Ryan? No, Reed. Reed description.
Reed Da Vinci.
Yeah, close, but no cigar. Description. Closer to Da Vinci.
Everybody!
I was not expecting that.
Hey, you guys!
How you doing? Yeah. No.
Hey, I bet.
We are in a talk show from 1975. What the fuck? Okay, go ahead. Reed.
It's like Kermit did crack.
Alright, everybody. I don't know if I gotta change my voice so you can understand me. Kinda rude. But I deal with it.
It's like halfway between Animal from Sesame Street
And Fat Albert.
and Fat Albert.
Alright. Here we go. They influence our decisions without us knowing it. They numb our senses without us feeling it. They control our lives without us realizing it. They live.
Oh,
Fucking
gave me chills.
Top-notch fucking description.
amazing. So good.
Like, this description is a part of the marketing campaign.
It is. Honestly, like, it is the... So, this is a great example of, like, I don't know if this is the kind of movie that you really want to know too much about going in if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So, if you have, you won't mind that too much because you already know what it's about. If you haven't, and you want to know more, maybe just watch the film.
It's worth it. 100%.
What Genrys we got for this movie?
Desert Adventure.
Obviously.
Right.
Because I saw sand.
I saw palm trees.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Desert Adventure.
Yep.
I'm sorry, guys. More seriously, onto IMDb. This is a conspiracy thriller. That's a real description.
Fuck you so hard. Fuck you so hard. Fuck you so hard. Conspiracy thriller. It can't just be a thriller
Or a conspiracy?
or a conspiracy. It has to be a conspiracy thriller.
I mean, aren't
every time.
conspiracies always thrilling?
You would think.
Right?
it's a
Are there
boring.
boring- are
It's
there-
a boring conspiracy.
There are
It's a
boring
boring
conspiracies?
conspiracy.
Yeah, like did you guys hear about the
We're
whole...
conspiring to steal office equipment?
I don't care.
I believe you am a Kipler.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. That's a boring conspiracy.
I am embezzling paper clips, guys.
Stop telling me. I'm bored. The world's coming to an end. I don't care.
I know, but check out this stockpile of erasers.
My Post-it collection would shock you.
I'm heavily invested. Let's just say that the SEC is looking into me. Okay, so
conspiracy thriller.
thrilling conspiracy. Let's get into the real shit, though. The meat and potatoes.
Action.
Action.
Yes.
100%.
Horror? Okay.
I'd say it flirts.
I think... Okay.
I'm going to take exception.
Hang on. Here's my reasoning. If this movie came out with more modern special effects, I think it would be more terrifying. I might postulate that the effects of this movie at the time were probably more shocking than they are now.
I agree, but I also think it comes with the presumption that the filmmaker's intent was to be more. It is also possible, again, it's kind of difficult to know what we're talking about because we didn't really give you a lot to go on in terms of the description and synopsis. But if you've seen this movie, the thing we're talking about, I don't think there's any indication that the filmmakers would have necessarily gone harder on that, given more technology. Though I agree with you, they could have, and if they did, it may be more squarely in the horror genre. But I think I'm going to dissent in opinion on horror.
I would say the subject matter would be horrifying.
If it weren't the real world.
If it weren't the real world. The subject matter of this movie is so goddamn pertinent and relatable that it actually is terrifying. But again, we are so numb to it at this point because we've been steeped in it for so long that it's not horrifying.
It is 2025.
Right.
Like an oolong tea. We're steeped in it.
A too long tea.
A too long tea. We've been steeped in it for too long. Those tea makers knew it the whole time.
Fucking bastard.
You know what? This is a boring conspiracy.
Yes.
There you go. There you go. I think you guys will be happy with the second two genres. Sci-fi, 100%.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Thriller,
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
It thrilled me.
Yeah.
I was thrilled.
Yeah.
I was, yes.
Would we recommend this movie?
Yes.
100%.
Yep.
This
To
is,
anybody.
This is fun.
Fucking yeah.
It's provocative in its subject matter. Yeah, this is a solid movie.
Yeah. No notes. No notes. Honestly, the only people I could imagine taking issue with this movie are the exact fucking people that need to see this movie.
Yeah.
And again, if you've seen it, you might understand what I'm saying. If you haven't, go out and watch it.
Yep.
Just do it. Mm-hmm. Are we ready to...
Blah, 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 blah.
Okay, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, that was probably really fucking weird and annoying.
Yeah.
You've never heard that sound before. That is our not so subtle way to signal to you that we are about to spoil the fucking shit out of this movie.
Spoiler alert!
So, if you don't want this movie spoiled, press pause, go and watch the movie, come back, listen to the rest of the podcast, play it again, play it several more times. That way we get advertising dollars.
Thank you.
And,
Yes.
you know, we get to exist in the 21st century while making a pittance from advertising dollars from a low to moderately viewed podcast.
Trying to get that yacht money, biatch.
Yeah. A yatched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have come to understand that that's how it's spelled and pronounced.
Yes. Yes.
It's the sound my cat makes when she's eating something she doesn't like.
Yes. Yes.
How does this movie start?
Well, like most,
Boom.
right?
Boom, boom.
Boom, boom. Fucking, oh my god, that bass line
So good.
is gonna live in my head rent-free for a very long time, and I'm
Hell
so not mad about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it starts off
As basically Rambo First Blood.
yeah, he's just a dude wandering.
Rolls into fucking town.
yeah, well,
with,
like,
with a pack on his back and is just not heading in any particular direction.
that is a particular John Carpenter flavor. Like, most of his movies start out that way.
Well, it's perfect because you can like project anything onto that character.
Yeah, and John Carpenter plays with the music so well that he is already creating a vibe that you don't know is perfect yet, but he's setting you up. Because, I mean, I think we can all agree that music is so important in setting the tone, and having this, like, almost ominous bass line, bum, bum, bum.
Such a great through line in this movie.
Dude, I miss the days when movies could be like remembered by their score.
Yeah.
You know? That I don't think that happens.
Yeah, nobody's
nowadays.
sitting there like listening to the score of Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Even though it was a very epic movie, right? But like Lord of the Rings, I'll put that shit on.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, that's a notable exception.
Star Wars, sure.
And even your Marvel like reference, that permeates all Marvel movies.
Yeah.
You know, it's not distinct to one. Like fucking Gremlins, you know?
Yeah.
Bam, 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 bam. Like, it's just
Ghostbusters.
a
Dude,
few
fucking
notes.
Tubular Bells, The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, not to
I can't do it with my mouth, but-
deep throat the John Carpenter boot too
Oh,
much.
please, deep throat us, Jackson.
Wow. Is that what it sounds
I just
like?
went for it.
He knew exactly what that sounded like.
Yeah.
How?
Because we practiced, Mark.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
You missed practice
I'm
last week.
sorry, guys.
Mark,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
gonna be honest. It was awesome.
It sounds awesome. It sounds awesome.
Practice was
great.
awesome.
Yeah, but my throat hurt a little bit afterwards, but it's
But
priceless.
it was fine. You were okay.
But I do feel like it'll be easier for me to be your friends having not attended dress rehearsal.
Right.
You know what? Honestly, I wouldn't miss it next week. You know what? Let's do 2 next week.
Okay, yeah.
Is that leg day?
Never skip leg day.
Oh God. Oh God.
So, to continue what I was
Sorry, Mom.
thinking about. Yeah, sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
So, we were talking about, scores being so memorable. And John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Oh, wait, no, that's
Jason.
That's Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
But still,
the point
stands.
Yeah.
Like Halloween.
Halloween does fit though.
Yeah. Can't play it in my head right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fucking.
It just doesn't happen anymore. And it's so awesome.
Yeah.
It is. It's also like in the age of like branding yourself and branding your thing. Like it's amazing to me that there's not more of it because like that's what it is, right? It's like you hear that like dun 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 dun, and you're just like, oh fuck, things are happening. Michael Myers, what's happening?
Yeah.
Oh my god, like there's so much of that in films from like let's say 1975 to like 2005.
Yeah.
That like where the fuck did it go?
I'm going to say a really like old man thing, but I feel like it takes patience and creativity, and I don't feel like patience and creativity are things that go together in movies that come out now. I have no idea if that's true, but that's how I feel.
You know what it takes? It takes money because money buys patience and creativity. And this is an area that we can trim the fat a little bit.
Yeah.
We can trim this down. And ultimately what ends up happening is the people responsible for creating that shit don't get a fucking job. Or you end up with somebody who's willing to work for the lowest fucking common denominator and they don't do as good of a job as the person who wants a proper and fucking living wage.
Right.
Believe it or not, I know it seems like we're off on a tangent. This is all really fucking relevant to the movie that we're talking about.
And like, not to labor the point too much, but like directors like Sam Raimi that just have through lines through all of their movies. Like Sam Raimi, this is kind of a weird bit, but like his car is in every one of his films. His personal car. Like his first car, whatever it was, shows up in every one of his films. And sometimes it's a burned out shell of a car, but it's his car. Sometimes it's the car that the main character drives. Sometimes it's a car that was in a driveway in one of the B-roll shots. But like Sam Raimi includes his car in every one of his films.
Carpenter does a lot of that.
Carpenter does a lot of that too. And it's just so fucking beautiful. I love it. Anyway, the movie starts, lone wolf, deep bass.
Rolls into town.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's looking for a job.
Yep.
And he first goes to what I believe is a bank and basically says he came from Colorado, all the banks enfolded there, looking for a job at a bank. I don't believe...
It looked like an unemployment office.
That's what I thought at first, but
well, because there was this whole board of like job like there was a sign that said job opportunities.
Okay.
So it's like a temp agency?
So I initially thought that too, but I was then thinking because he was really hammering the bank thing in the interview that she was like, there's no positions. Like, she was like rolling her eyes and like, you've never worked in a bank.
So my thought there was that the banks dried up in Colorado and nobody had any money and nobody had any jobs available. Because you take one look at Roddy Piper, you don't think bank teller. And he had like a rucksack with a sleeping bag and shit.
And so very clearly, either way, whether it was a job center or a bank, she was having none of it.
Yeah, she was not buying what he was selling.
You're not going to get a fucking job here. So he moves on, and he goes to a construction site and basically poaches a job, which is a thing that you could do back in the 80s that you cannot do now.
Guy says it's a union job, and he's like, all right, show me the site supervisor then. And he just fucking goes to work.
For anybody born before the year 1970, I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't work like that anymore.
Nope.
You can't just walk into a place of business and say, are you hiring?
They don't, yeah.
Better yet, he walked onto a construction site and says, I brought my own tools. And they were like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It was a very interesting scene from a sort of like, temporal perspective.
No background check, no references, just you got tools, you got muscles, all right, we could use you.
He gets the job and he meets
Frank.
He meets Frank, Keith David's character. Keith kind of like susses out that he needs a place to stay and invites him back to a shanty town that he's been staying at.
Think Hooverville.
Yeah. And so while he is there at this like homeless camp, we're kind of meeting some side characters, and there's some guys sitting around a TV that starts like bugging out, and they start getting these like weird messages, these weird kind of
basically a Max Headroom type situation where like the actual signal gets interfered with and somebody else pops on screen and it's like, hey, I'm addressing you, the person watching the CRT right now.
Killer reference to the Max Headroom, by the way.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like people don't know what that is anymore.
But yeah, no, perfectly apt.
That was throwing a lifeline to the people who were born before 1970.
Right.
Because I just called them out about job hunting in the modern age. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
You brought him back to the fold. While he's there, he notices there's some kind of weird comings and goings at this church across the street. He starts paying attention, wanders in, finds these weird sunglasses that are not like displayed, but they're like organized on this table, and there's like some beakers, and like it almost looks like a meth lab, if you will.
It looks totally like a meth lab.
100%.
Yeah. But it's weird. There's like 24 pairs of sunglasses just kind of organized on this table.
Like Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, never mind. I think it was actually Risky Business. There was a movie where like Ray-Bans was actually a failing company, and it was their ability to get their sunglasses into a movie, and I think it was Risky Business with Tom Cruise that made them the company that they are. They were a small-time sunglass company, and they just won fucking movie, and they are the sunglasses to have.
It's like Crocs and Idiocracy.
Yeah, which is so weird that like everybody looked at that movie and was like, yeah, I want a piece of those.
Right?
I want a piece of that.
The director was like, I want a pair of shoes that only idiots would wear, and everybody bought them.
Crocs are like, fucking sign me up.
Yeah.
Kick you in the balls.
I say that like I don't own a fucking pair of Crocs.
I don't own a pair of Crocs, but they make cowboy boots. Did you know that?
Cowboy boots.
Right?
That was bad.
Oh, cowboy, your boots.
Okay. Okay.
Like Little Richard
So-
over there.
Do we jump right to the raid?
I think we can.
Yeah, so he sees these sunglasses. He realizes that this church is sort of playing host to a whole bunch of people who are not doing church shit.
Yeah.
And he gets the fuck out of there, and very shortly after, like that night, a fucking army of police officers in like SWAT gear and shit, in addition to a bulldozer and a few other things, come rolling into the area. They completely raid the church. They bulldoze the shanty town, arrest and or kill a whole bunch of the people.
I didn't see them kill anybody on purpose. Like, it was very clear
Did they not kill those two dudes?
They did not kill those two dudes.
because they did show up later. They beat the shit out of them, but they didn't kill them.
They showed up later?
I think so.
I don't remember seeing them again.
The blind preacher guy and the
broadcaster.
And the
No, that was
broadcaster.
the other guy that showed up later.
Yeah.
So maybe they did kill him.
Well, it
didn't kill him on screen.
It didn't look good. I think you're right. I think they didn't kill him on screen, but it didn't look good. But yeah, basically, they were doing a very controlled and peaceful remediation of an unauthorized civilian encampment.
They're cleaning up the streets, Colin.
Which is to say, they fucking rolled in and killed and destroyed the homes of a whole bunch of
We
people.
call it a controlled burn.
That's right.
Yep.
Which is good. Because, you know what? If we just oppress these people enough, they're going to clean up their act. And then they'll buy Rolexes.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that how it works?
That's how economics works.
Exactly.
You beat the shit out of somebody long enough, they'll submit and then just buy shit.
Talk to Alan Greenspan.
Yeah.
He knows.
Right. And
He
most
knows.
importantly, I won't be as uncomfortable.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because they won't be in my sightline.
Oh, it's so funny because it's sad and true. So they fuck up this church and this camp. He kind of gets out of Dodge, and then curiosity gets the best of him, and he goes back into the church the next day.
Opens up a secret panel that he accidentally fell through the last time he was there.
Which is pretty badass.
Right?
He finds a box of sunglasses, and he, in kind of like what I feel like is an appropriate response, when he finally gets the box open, he's digging through it like, what the fuck is in here?
What else is in here?
Yeah, what else is in here?
Looking for the bottom of the box, like, what are they smuggling in with the
looking
sunglasses?
for the drugs. He's looking for something. Like, why would the police just completely crack down on this fucking place?
He's like, what are they making, counterfeit Oakleys? Like, what? What is happening?
And so he puts on the sunglasses, and this is the single most important part of the movie. The world is not as it seems, and the sunglasses allow you to see it for what it is.
Yeah.
All of the signs and billboards are replaced with the subliminal message that has been pushed. Things like obey, sleep, consume.
Marry, reproduce,
Yeah.
you know?
All of the things that a controlling class would want to push and impress upon a working or slave class.
Yep. Even the money itself, like, it says something
This
like...
is your God.
This is your God.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's so good.
But that's not all he sees with the glasses.
Yeah, he looks up at some of the people, and some of them look a little rough around the edges.
Yeah. One might say foreign or
Ew!
true. Yes. Alien.
Aliens!
Yeah. So they are butt-ass ugly, you know.
Oh, eyes bugging out, flesh peeling off, like fucking terrifying.
Yeah, they basically look like flayed people. Like
I thought
look
they
like,
were robots the first time I saw it.
Yeah, they look like people without skin.
Yep.
This is why, like, maybe this would be a horror to some folks, because, like...
In 1988, it was probably...
They look pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's wandering around, looking at signs, looking at people, trying to, like, figure out what the hell's going on. And he has such a fascinating reaction to it. Like, at first he's curious, and then he just gets, like, really,
Volatile.
Yeah! He just starts,
Hostile.
he just starts, like, cussing people out. Like, he yells at this old woman in a grocery store who's not an old woman. She's an old alien.
Yeah, and so he actually drops a very memorable quote that made me bust a gut laughing. He looks at this woman who has just bumped into him, and she's one of these aliens. And he says, you know, you look like your head fell in the cheese dip in 1955.
Which, admittedly,
She did, but
she did.
like, you can't say that to person. You can't.
You can't say that to person!
You
can't
cannot
say
say
that
that
to
to person! So help me, Mark, if you say that to person,
I will not say that to person.
No.
He just, like... Just
you
calls
can't
her,
get your fucking break in this basement, can you, Jackson?
It's the ball busting basement. But yeah, he just fucking like calls her like ugly. Like it's so
yeah.
it's so funny. And he like let's see, so people notice that he's berating only the aliens, and they recognize. They even say something like, "I've got someone that can see."
Yeah, I think it was that woman.
Yeah, she's
he
like-
he notices she's like pulled her wrist up to her mouth, and she's kind of like talking into her watch, and she's like, "I got one that can see."
Yep. And then like all of the aliens in the grocery store kind of like turn and they're looking at him,
And they all start talking into their wristwatch.
yeah, they're like describing what he looks like and where he's going and
Tall, Caucasian male, wearing sunglasses. Murr, 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 murr.
Yep. He leaves the grocery store. He's like confronted by some cops who are not cops, they're aliens.
Yeah.
Beats the shit out of him, takes their gun, and he starts like blowing people away.
Yeah. He just fucking murders these guys in the street because they're not people.
Yeah.
But the rest of the world doesn't see that. All they see is this crazy homicidal maniac in Ray-Bans with a mullet.
Another thing to like keep in mind is at this point we don't really know that they're aliens. We just know that they're definitely not people.
Right.
And they are horrific, and there's definitely, let's say, a thrilling conspiracy going on.
Yeah.
That is controlling people on behalf of
The ruling powers.
the not people.
Yeah.
Right. So it's around this time that he meets, I mean, you can't really call her a love interest, but like there's like a moment in the movie where you get the idea that like he's got a thing for her. But anyway, he finds this woman in a parking garage.
How would you not have a thing for her? She talks like this.
She's so sultry.
She's the sexiest
all the time.
all the time.
It's a very attractive sound to hear from a lady.
I want Mark at some point in my life. I want him to try and seduce me because that's what I want him to walk into a room, maybe doing like the Buffalo Bill, like Goodbye Horses, like, he just tucks it back a little, kind of crosses his legs, all open, and then he just goes,
Get you real wet?
Honestly, that got me a little cherry.
Rattles my sphincter.
I get it. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror. It's a nude.
So good.
Okay. So meets this woman, kidnaps this woman, more or less.
Yes. Holds her at gunpoint and says, drive.
Yeah. They go back to her place. She lives in this like super rich Outlook mansion-esque thing. House on stilts.
Yep.
Yeah. Real fucking gross, blocky, postmodern bullshit.
Yep. And tries to get her to believe his story, and she stays so like calm and collected and like
Breathy.
Yeah, very breathy.
Yeah. Well, and at one point he says, put on the glasses and you'll see what I see. And she says, I'll put on the glasses if you want me to put on the glasses. But either I'll see what you want me to see, or I'll say I see what you want me to see. Mm-hmm. Because he's the guy with the gun.
Also, can we just talk about the fact that, like, there was definitely a very thin veneer of cocaine on every surface in her house.
100%.
There's no question her house was just, like, a thin dusting of cocaine.
Yeah.
It's one of those 80s houses.
Right.
We're just like, oh.
Like,
I don't know if I should touch any of this.
I saw this house in Grand Theft Auto.
Like, pretty sure there was a fishbowl on the coffee table. Yeah.
This is not good.
Weird modern art statuettes posed throughout the house. Like bronze statues of weird shapes.
Which honestly,
like that shit.
Upon a rewatch, should be the first clue as to where the story is going.
Right.
With her character specifically.
Yeah, knowing what I know now, I'm like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yep. And her calm, collected demeanor when being given this information.
And
yes.
also the cocaine.
Yes.
Mostly the cocaine.
Mostly the cocaine.
Right.
Cocaine.
Okay.
Yes.
So she bashes him in the face with a wine bottle, a scotch bottle, whatever.
Yeah, he turns around to turn the TV on and she sees an opportunity and just clocks him.
I respect it.
And he just falls straight out the window.
Like 2 stories.
Yeah, like 30, 40 feet
Or she
down.
throws him out the window.
Oh.
She fucking breaks it over his head and then pushes him out of a plate glass window like 2 stories.
Yeah. And he just crashes to the ground, rolls down the hill a little bit.
He's fine. He's been through worse.
Yeah.
It's Roddy Piper.
It's Roddy Piper. He's got in the chair.
Yeah, try harder than that.
Yep. Okay, so he's kind of on the run. She calls it in. Cops show up to her place. He's now looking for allies and goes back to the construction yard where he had met Frank.
And he tries a very calm and collected method of convincing Frank that he needs to look through the sunglasses.
Yeah, by saying, put on the glasses.
Yep. And holding them up and shouting angrily. And it goes over really well.
Yeah.
And it definitely does not lead to an extremely protracted fight scene.
Yeah.
That's probably like 11 or 12 minutes long.
So
100%.
good. So good.
Honestly,
God,
it is great.
dude.
And you have to,
Impacts.
you can't cast fucking Roddy Piper in the lead role of an action flick and not have a protracted, like, wrestling style fight scene.
Oh my god, dude.
Like, you'd be wasting your talent. It was so good.
They did fucking suplexes and tombstones, and I'm pretty sure I saw a Stone Cold Stunner, and that was before the days of Stone Cold. Like, fucking...
It kept going. Like, it actually had the sort of, like, vibe and cadence of a real professional wrestling match. Because, you know, professional wrestling match, like, at the end of the day, fake or not, these are incredibly taxing and exhausting things that these people are doing. And so, like, the cadence needs to sort of wax and wane so these people can catch their breath and they can recover from, like, jumping off of a fucking thing onto their back, you know, all this shit. And it's like, in the movie, they could have just edited it so it was just solid action. No, like, they really shot it as if it were a fight scene inside a fucking ring at an arena.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for, like, the WWE or whatever.
Yeah. Every single punch had, like, so much weight to it. The sound effects that they would use, you know, it was just boom, you know.
Yeah, like, fucking...
So good.
Oh, my God.
I felt it. I fucking felt
And, like, every few minutes, these guys are laying on the ground, catching their breath and licking their wounds, and then
you think it's over.
And then they look at each other, like, with mutual respect, like, well fought. And then they just start kicking the shit out of each other again. I swear to God, it was like 11 minutes.
It was good.
It was so good.
So, as you would expect, after beating the shit out of somebody, well, they come around and they're now your friend.
Yeah.
He forces him to wear the sunglasses.
He literally puts them on him and, like, holds him in a rear naked choke so that he can see for just a second.
And then that's all it took.
And that's all it took.
And that kind of sets up sort of most of the rest of the movie where they're kind of together.
Yeah.
Almost like buddy cop energy.
Yeah, brothers in arms.
Yep.
So the first thing that they do, as you do when you make friends with a dude in an alley,
with your
and,
fists,
you know, with your fists, and you're doing things in an alley together privately.
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you find a hotel room.
Yep.
Wash up.
Which, you know, I mean, I think we all have experienced, guys, right? Like you know,
Yeah, you meet a guy in an alley, you
Exactly.
go back to a hotel.
fisting. You know,
Yes.
you're fisting
Yeah.
each other.
Yep.
That's what they call it, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then you're wearing sunglasses and who knows where you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so this is actually one of my quotes.
This is an interesting
this is-
transition. Let's see how this goes.
The perfect transition. So they check into the hotel, and Keith David's character is like slumped against the door frame after this massive brawl. And Roddy Piper's face is like, it looks like he's been stung by a dozen bees. And he just looks across the room at Keith David's character, smiles, and goes, "Ain't love grand?"
The delivery was just perfect.
So good.
So good.
All right, so they are looking...
So it's like their safe house, right? This is
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
like they're hiding out.
Yep. How do they bump into...
So, like Jackson said, this is their safe house. They're kind of like laying low there.
Almost on a stakeout. Like they're looking out the windows and
Yeah.
watching people.
But they still have to, like, eat and shit. So Keith David goes out and, like, you know, is getting food and stuff like that. And one of the guys from the beginning of the film that was, like, in the church and he was escaping from the raid and all this stuff, he ends up noticing Keith David on the street, noticing that he has sunglasses, and follows him back to that hotel room and basically says, like, "Hey, guys, I know that you know, and some other people know,
We got a secret club.
and we know that you know, and you know that we know now, and that, you know, do you want to know other people that know, you know?" And so he hands him a card and he says, "Hey, meet us here at this time. Make sure you're not followed." You know what I mean?
I do.
How's that?
Little did he know means that there's something that he doesn't know, which means there's something that you don't know. Did you know that? Come on, tell me that, Mark.
Did you know that I know that you knew?
Stranger Than Fiction?
Oh shit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I went Mystery Men with the Casanova Frankenstein, Captain Amazing back and forth.
Oh, yes, yes. But did you know that I knew that you knew?
Of course. All right, so they go back to this. It's not a warehouse, but like, you know, it feels like a warehouse.
Feels like where you'd have an AA meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Table full of guns, you know, a lot of people there.
Very
Typical AA
A
meeting.
typical AA, yeah. The table full of guns. Just...
Okay. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
And they're handing out contact lenses so that they're not so conspicuous with the sunglasses.
Yeah, it's like the latest model.
Yeah. The newest tech.
It's the way to look cool.
Yeah. And it supposedly has less interference because the guys that were wearing sunglasses were getting headaches from wearing them.
And it's easier for the director.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. Easier for the action, too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know. So they get the contact lenses. In the middle of this meeting, they're talking about how the broadcasts from the television studios are compromised and all this stuff. And all of a sudden you hear a sexy, breathy voice from the back of the room say, Studio 54 isn't compromised. And everybody goes, what?
Right.
And Roddy Piper looks over, and it's sexy blue-eyed lady. Mm-hmm. And sexy blue-eyed lady
Holly
says...
Thompson.
Yeah, Holly Thompson says, Studio 54 sends out a good broadcast. It's so good.
It's clean.
Oh, it's so good.
So he goes over and talks to her, and she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Are you okay?
Do you need help? Do you need me to apply cream?
I must have missed that part.
It's insinuated.
It's implied.
I wasn't wearing my glasses to see the subliminal
come on,
messaging.
man. She literally was holding a sign that said, marry and reproduce. Did you miss that?
Oh, yeah.
With the cream.
With the cream.
Which rises to the top.
Well,
It's coming full circle. It's full circle.
It is.
Pro wrestlers.
it is coming in a circle.
I believe we call that a
Circle jerk.
That's disgusting, you guys. That's too far.
It's disgusting now that, you know, he's
too
got,
far.
He's got the post-nut clarity.
It's
It wasn't disgusting 20 minutes ago when we were...
My eyes have
Whatever.
opened.
Never
It's
mind.
only
It's not-
disgusting
it's not
when you need
important.
to reach for the mop.
See, Mark wouldn't do that because he's part of the ruling class, the elites.
Right.
Yeah.
He's
I'm more of a
in charge
Swiffer
here.
guy. Okay. All right. So the meeting that they are at.
He's a bounty guy. The quilted quicker picker upper.
Gives a whole new definition to the wet jet.
Speaking of paper towel and cleaning things up,
Oh, yeah.
the narrative. So while she's like breathily,
While she's breathing him.
while she's breathing him,
She's breathing all over.
Oh,
him.
yeah.
boom, explosion, raid.
Yeah, the wall blows out and these SWAT stormtroopers just start firing into the room.
Yeah, no questions, no warnings, just bullets.
No, and it's like firing line style. There's like a group of guys kneeling on the ground, and then there's a line of guys standing up above them, and they are all just firing indiscriminately into this room. And one guy attempts to throw a grenade, and he gets shot in the middle, and the grenade drops to the floor right next to the table full of guns, and like everything turns into a shit sandwich real quick.
Yep, everybody scatters. In that scattering, Frank and God, what was his name?
His name?
Beans.
What?
Beans.
Was not Beans.
Frank and Beans.
Oh, God.
God
Really?
damn it.
Nobody?
God damn it.
So the funny thing is,
God damn it.
I saw an opportunity, and I took it, and y'all didn't like it. But you know what? You know who's going to love that? Crusade Laferty's going to love that.
yeah, she's gonna love that. So on IMDb, his name is listed as Nada because I don't think they ever said his name in the
Who's that?
entire movie. Roddy Piper is listed as Nada.
He's just
Really?
the guy.
They
he's the
never
guy.
say his name in the entire movie.
Don't need to. Don't need
Nada.
to.
Day nada.
Right.
It's nothing.
It's night nada.
Roddy Piper as himself.
Yeah. Okay, so they're cornered in an alleyway. While they're at the meeting, they get this watch, and so they're in the alley again. They're cornered.
It's one of the...
Alien watches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the watches
Apple
that they
Watch.
were all talking into. Yes, it's an Apple Watch. It's absolutely an
It's
Apple
like
Watch.
this expensive looking gold watch that doubles as a communicator and, as we later find out, a somewhat teleportation device.
It's like it puts a hole in the ground that's
Yeah.
just conveniently located above this subterranean hallway.
Right.
Deus Ex Machina hole.
Yeah.
I don't think it was it put it in the ground. I think it's like a dimensional portal thing.
They didn't specify.
It wasn't specific, but
I am almost certain it was like a dimensional portal.
I like
Gabby.
to think that the alleyway.
You think
was
it literally just cut a hole in
perfectly
the
lined up-
ground?
Perfectly lined
Perfectly lined up
with
with
that
the-
hallway.
That's some Bugs Bunny shit.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, a hole is created. They jump into this hole, and they either fall into the hallway or they fall through some magic.
Listen, we all recklessly jump into holes in alleyways. We know
I do it
this.
all the time.
Yes,
I would.
That's why it burns and itches.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got the Goopadoop.
you got the Goopadoo.
God damn.
I didn't want to tell you the other night when we were practicing and Mark wasn't here.
Got to be careful with them alley holes. They will get you, and they are messy.
Are they?
Well, yes.
Dude, the alley holes.
The alley holes?
That's a fucking band
Band
name.
name.
hole?
The alley holes.
I kind of like that. Okay,
It
so
like suggests manhole, but doesn't say it.
yeah, manhole's too provocative.
Right.
I feel like it'll turn people off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alley hole.
Yeah. Because, I mean, alley could be anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Could be.
Alley's got holes. You know?
I mean, Allie could be a dude.
Yeah. Could be short for Alistair.
Alistair's got lots
Alistair's
of holes.
holes.
Alistair's holes.
I'm sure people named Alistair also have holes. Okay?
Most of them.
How many holes do you have?
4.
Oh.
I've got all the good ones, and then I got a secret one.
I got 7.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you're rounding to the nearest 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I watched a whole 30-minute YouTube video about how many holes in the human body. I'm never gonna get that 30 minutes back.
Does it count? Does it count pores?
No.
Oh, well, that doesn't count.
Well, it depends. How do you define a hole? Does it have to have an exit?
This is a topological argument now. Mathematicians have been arguing over this for a while.
I mean,
I think the consensus was 1.
Yeah.
Because they all fold in on themselves, and it's just your ass to mouth.
Well, ultimately, if you look up and open your mouth and you're looking from a bird's eye view, you're a donut.
yeah.
And if you're kissing somebody, you technically make a complete tube from butthole to butthole.
Crew. Yeah.
Which is called love.
That is love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Baby,
if we're
don't hurt
talking orifices, which are just openings,
Or phi.
Orify. Is that like AFI? That was the band they formed after AFI,
Just
like
a little
disbanded?
stickier, yeah.
Orify.
orifices,
Orify.
orifici.
Girls Not Gray Matter.
Blah.
But there would be 7. I mean, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, a mouth, and front and back. Like, from
Yeah.
end to end, if we're talking, opening, there's just 1.
Which is, I think, the definition of a hole.
But to Jackson...
Because you could dig a hole, there's not an opening on the
That's
other
not
end.
a hole, that's a crater.
To Jackson's point...
Fair.
But to Jackson's point, topologically, there may be 5. Because if you think about... So, one of the classic topological arguments is how many holes do pants have?
Right.
And the general consensus among mathematicians is 2. Because if you just keep making pants shorter, right? If you just keep deforming them along the, would-be z-axis, ultimately you end up with what is basically a torus, right? Or a double torus.
Right.
You end up with 2 rings that are joined, right? So, if you follow me here, you got 1 hole conclusively that's coming from the mouth to the butthole, but then you've got 2 nostrils and 2 ears. Yes, they all join up,
But
if you were to flatten a person down, squish them down, have them look up and open up all of the holes, dilate them as needed, ultimately I think you'd end up with 5 holes and a sort of infinitely squished series of borders around each of those holes. I'm going to go ahead and stake my reputation on that. The complicating factor is other more minor holes like
Pores.
your tear ducts.
Oh, yeah.
Your tear ducts, people could shoot milk out of their tear ducts when they drink it. So there's a connection there.
Yeah. Mammary glands.
Mammary glands. Though I'd be interested to know what the actual,
Yeah.
pathway is, if there's a direct pathway.
There's a tube.
Good tube somewhere.
Now,
Boob
this
tube.
The boob tube. That's where it comes from.
Yep.
The boob tube.
this whole aside is brought to you by 3 Men in a Basement. Thank you for tuning in. Back to the narrative.
This whole aside brought to you by 3 Men in a Basement, 5 holes in a person.
Now the funny use of the word whole there is it could be a double entendre because it could be whole as in totality and whole as in a hole.
Okay, but I think we can all agree, Allie's got holes.
Allie's got holes.
Lots of them.
So
many.
they jumped into Allie's holes.
Yep.
And then they ended up in a subterranean hallway.
As you do when you jump into
A
Allie's holes.
subterranean hallway.
Okay. All right. Hang on. Oh, so we are going back to the narrative. And about 30 minutes ago, we left off, and our main characters were trapped in an alleyway, and they had a magic watch. They were surrounded. They jumped into a hole. That's enough.
Ended up in the hallway.
Okay. You distracted me. You distracted me. I respect it. I respect it. Okay, so they're now walking down this hallway, and they stumble upon this ballroom.
Yeah.
Bunch of dudes in suits. It's a fancy.
It's a black tie.
Yeah, fancy party going on.
I believe it was Elon Musk's dining room.
Yes.
Yes.
Which would explain the aliens.
The people without faces.
Yeah.
And
There's like this meticulously mustachioed man at a pulpit. Think keynote speaker at like a conference.
yeah, think like Monopoly Man without the monocle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or the face.
While they're like just oddly wandering around this black tie affair in their fucking like tucked in jeans, fucking dirty, hairy, fucking piece stuffed in his like.
Yeah. Roddy Piper's been wearing a flannel t-shirt and blue jeans with steel-toed boots. And Frank is wearing a tank top.
Purple tank top.
A purple tank top. And I think he was wearing like black jeans or cargo pants or something and steel-toed boots. And these two dirty, sweaty workmen who have just been in multiple gunfights stumble across this black tie ballroom and nobody bats a fucking eyelash.
They're holding guns.
Yeah.
Like they're not even like being like discreet about them.
Like submachine guns and shotguns and shit.
I honestly, so there's so much fucking subtext to this movie, but I feel like one of the best parts about this movie is you can always justify it with the fucking like, yeah, but them.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, they are so convinced of their own grandeur and power that they couldn't fathom a situation where the lessers, the others, the slaves, the workers could impose upon their special event.
Right.
If they're there, they must be there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
They must be one of us because it is impossible for them to get the jump on us. And like, again, they never said that. That is me just totally
That's
like
the vibe. Like,
yeah, that's just me fucking like flapping my
no
gums.
way.
But I love this movie for that reason. Is
Yeah.
like it sets it up so beautifully that like anything that seems like a loose end or seems kind of silly or out of left field or whatever, you're like, yeah, but like you can just explain it away with they.
Yeah.
And I think we all learned a long time ago, they is bad.
They is bad.
Yeah.
They is bad.
Yeah. And they do almost spell it out. One of the guys in the ballroom conference, whatever, who's dressed to the nines, was one of the homeless people in the earlier parts of the movie. I think they did a great job of picking an actor who had a very like distinctive cadence to his voice that like he was very recognizable, I think you might not have recognized him otherwise because
It took me a second.
yeah, he wasn't a character before, but he just like had some lines in the background, but he delivered them with such a memorable,
Unique way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he addressed them like, "Oh, it's good to see you boys. I knew from the second I saw you, you were one of us." And I was just like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Oh my god, it's the homeless dude.
Yeah.
And he was like dressed in tails.
Oh, with hair slicked back, bow tie and everything. Like fucking, yeah.
So, I mean, he basically kind of like says, well, since you're here, you must be with us. So why didn't you dress up? And then he proceeds to give them
A grand tour.
a tour of the whole facility. It's basically the bad guy spelling out his plan in the final act, except done in a very different way.
It's the "before I kill you, Mr. Bond, let me
Yeah.
explain my grand evil plan."
Exactly where my fucking mind went to.
But-
but you're right, Mark. It is in a different way because it's not born out of like you're in a position that you'll never get out of.
Like,
I could just spill my plan.
No.
It's like I'm too fucking stupid to realize or to fathom the idea that like you could be here accidentally
Too
or you could
ignorant,
be here
too arrogant.
like I'll just show you around because you must belong here.
Yeah, so he shows him like the TV station where the broadcast is going out. They show him the transporter. There's this, it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's this room that he shows him where these guys will step up on a platform. They'll kind of like turn into light and then shoot across to Andromeda.
yeah.
Sure.
They mentioned
Somewhere.
something about Andromeda 7.
Yeah, it's the 7th planet within the Andromeda galaxy.
Right.
There's like 8 or 9 of them. So,
Like the giant tennis-playing blancmanges from
Yeah.
the planet Skylark in the galaxy of Andromeda.
I know that one. That was Planet 4, I think.
Yes, quite.
4!
Phineas.
Yes.
Nobody's getting my...
I got nothing.
Oh, my Monty Python references?
Oh, you're dropping them, and I'm just not picking them
Oh,
up.
they came to Earth to win Wimbledon.
What is this?
Monty Python.
Which Monty Python? There's like 50.
Flying Circus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think
Giant Blamondres came to Earth to win Wimbledon from the planet Skylark and the
I
galaxy
saw
of
that
Andromeda.
one like 20 years ago.
Anything that is flying circus is by definition a deep cut. Unless you're going Holy Grail, it's a deep cut.
Ooh.
Like
That's a hot take.
Like Ministry of
See, I don't know. I would say I would give Meaning of Life
Meaning of Life is
prime time.
Yeah.
It's a wafer thin.
Fair.
Biggaf.
The salmon moose.
Salmon Moose, brought to you by 3 Men in a Basement. Now, back to the narrative.
3 men in a basement, 5 holes in a man.
Yes, quite.
Phineas. Okay, so
Boom, boom, boom. Shows
they're
them the
going
podcast.
through the television studio, and they decide to ask very politely where the roof is.
Yeah.
And by politely, I mean
Shoot everybody.
they kill everybody. You know, they're running through the fucking hallways, just like slaying motherfuckers, making sure that they only kill the alien guys.
Yeah. Because they can see who's who.
Because they've got the contacts on.
Right.
Yeah.
Convenient. That.
In their attempt to get to the roof, they end up bumping into the real sexy breathy lady.
Breathy Holly Thompson.
Oh, she's so sexy. They make it to the roof, and like as Roddy Piper is walking up to the roof, and Keith David and sexy lady are still sort of like in the stairwell, she pulls out a fucking gun and blows Keith David's head off.
But
Boom.
here's the best part about that scene. If you were looking down at that exact moment, you would have missed it. Because it was quick as a flash. Like, he rounds the corner, they're following after, and in about 1.5 seconds, she just whips out the gun and blows him away, and then it cuts to Roddy Piper.
Yeah, there's no build up at all.
Like,
Which is
no
pretty-
build up,
which
no
is pretty
follow
great.
through.
Yeah.
It's just fucking bang, moves on.
And very Carpenter.
Yes.
That like he's so good at that. He's such a good filmmaker. So then, climax of the film, Roddy Piper has a gun and he's going to shoot what, without glasses, looks like a satellite dish. With glasses is a
high-tech transmitter of some kind.
double bubbling fizzy orgasmatron.
Yeah.
That transmits the goopy transmissalopolis, and it melts people's heads and makes them into
Sheeple.
which is a word that is a thing now.
Yep.
I've heard it.
So his plan is to shoot it, and then she pulls a gun on him and says, "I don't think so." And he goes, "Oh yeah, bitch?" And she goes, "Yeah."
And he shoots her.
And he shoots her, and then he shoots the orgasmatron, and
Gets lit up himself.
And he dies in a hail of gunfire from these helicopters that are just blasting him with sniper rifles.
And so he dies, but his last act is basically to blow up the orgasmatron, and basically the signal goes down, so everybody wakes up from their fucking sleep, and
all of the aliens are now visible.
Yeah, without glasses, without contacts, without any help, people can see these aliens for what they are, and they're fucking everywhere.
Oh, there's
literally fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
They're fucking Allie's holes.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Allie.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah, he didn't ask for that.
He or she didn't ask for that.
They definitely didn't.
They did not ask for that.
But yeah, no, that's kind of the end. I think we even get like credits that are like kind of starting to roll, and I want to say there's even just like some scenes that are in like the final stretch, like just as the credits are starting. There's even like a funny bit where and this is where we get the fucking everywhere. There's this chick, there's like gratuitous boobies.
just for the sake of it.
Yeah, there is no nudity whatsoever. There's no sexual content
There's
whatsoever.
no romance, no anything.
And then in like the last 3 seconds of the movie, it's some chick topless and
Just riding this dude.
You can hear John Carpenter's voice just go like, "Yeah, but we need tits."
Just for the sake of it. Just
Yeah, but everybody wants to see him, so like, come on, guys.
goo. And yeah, she's like riding this dude, and then like the signal goes down, and she looks down, and it's one of the alien guys. He's like, "What, baby?" You know, and then boom, full credits.
Yep.
Roll credits.
One thing that I fucking loved about this, just kind of just jump right into it here. For the entire movie, whenever you saw the signs or you saw the aliens, they were always in black and white. And it was like really organic when they're like putting the sunglasses on. Like, okay, he's putting the sunglasses on, they're in black and white. But even when he's wearing the contacts, whenever it shows the aliens, they're still in black and white until the signal goes out.
Yeah.
And then we see them in full color, and it really just drives home that this is visible to everybody. And like just that
subtle play
it was
with
beautiful.
color. Yeah, it was a very easy and effective device from a filmmaking standpoint to allow the audience to quickly discriminate between when they were and were not seeing the world through the lens. And they, like Mark said, in the last scene, brilliantly decided to drop the full facade and basically be like, oh yeah, but they exist in color too.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
I completely agree. That's a great point.
And one thing that I loved about that was anytime you saw through the glasses or the contacts, it was always POV. It was always
right.
the perspective of the character. Because you never saw it outside of, like, you never saw, Roddy Piper or Keith David on screen with the aliens in black and white. It was always POV.
Yeah, so it was both in color and, like third party.
Right.
Yeah, that was really good the way that they did that.
Expertly done.
I don't want to, like, steal the thunder, but the fucking soundtrack, the score in this movie.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. So good. And we gushed about it while it was playing.
Yeah.
And it's
What
like...
was it? Boom, boom, boom. Or something like that.
Bum, bum.
And it would come in at like various points throughout the entire movie, sometimes accompanying other tracks, but like it was the through line. It was so good. It was so good. I really missed that memorable aspect.
It was almost like the bass line from a classic like jazz, but without any of the other instruments. And there was occasionally like a snare drum or a hi-hat thrown in there to change the vibe a little bit, but the bass line was always there. Bum, bum, bum. Bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum.
So good.
So I think one thing that we need to lead off with in likes is there is way too much to dissect in this movie, especially in today's age.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this movie could be cut up 9 billion ways, and you could watch this 50 times and still get new things out of it. So, like, just cut us a fucking break because we're not going to touch on all of the points. And if what we're saying sounds interesting or sounds like something that you want to see, whether you've seen this movie or not, go watch it again because, like, there's so much to fucking pick apart.
Yeah, and if by some stretch we don't cover, like, what your favorite part of the movie or your most important aspect of the film, feel free to email us about it because, like I said, there's a lot in here.
Or send us a burp envelope.
Or send us a burp envelope. Preferably both.
Yeah, hot dog burp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but I will say that getting that out of the way, that we're not going to touch on everything because it's such an amazingly dissectable and compact film from, like, a bunch of different standpoints. This is, in my opinion, which is, I think we can all agree, the correct opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously,
It
right?
depends.
Yeah.
Depends on what you're wearing.
Depends on what I'm wearing. It's all about what I'm wearing.
I take you more seriously when you're wearing, slacks.
Oh, that's funny because I take him more seriously when he's wearing nothing at all.
Well, you have to because the situation calls for it.
Right.
I'm wearing a Slack Nothing.
A Slack Nothing
Yeah.
is definitely a band name.
A Slack Nothing? A Slack Nothing. I've got ideas of what that means, and they're all gross.
Yeah.
That's the idea. It's in the pleats.
It's a pleats. Oh my god.
So I will say,
What's between the pleats?
the smell between the pleats. Oh man, Fremunda cheese.
That's an album.
That is an album. The smell between the pleats. But I think we can all agree that my opinion is the correct one. So, one thing that I will say about this movie is that, in my opinion, it is one of the single greatest narratives on class and wealth inequality in cinema history.
Oh, yeah.
If not the greatest.
Yeah.
Like, it is so fucking poignant. It is so on point with its simultaneously subtle and also in-your-face depiction of what it means to be upper class, lower class, wealthy, not wealthy, have-nots, and it beautifully recasts all of the stupid-ass culture wars that we fight on a daily basis into, no, the big thing that we all need to focus on is that, like, there are people who do and do not have things. And that is a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And this movie really, like, drives that point home over and over and over. And it's like, this is what we, as working class people, deal with and should be focusing on, right?
And
all of us together.
Like, another movie that I think does that really well but takes it to the absurd is Snowpiercer.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've done Snowpiercer before, and, like, that is a prime example of, like, you are lower class, and you're going to stay lower class because our lifestyle depends on you not getting any.
Yep.
And, you know, like I said, they take it to the absurd because all of humanity is...
Because it is
into a
absurd.
train, because it is absurd.
Well, and I think the beautiful part about this movie is, like, well, I think a lot of films depict the division.
The class warfare.
The class warfare. They depict that division. This is the only movie I can think of that really... I'm not saying it's the only one out there, but it's the only one I can think of that its central theme and tenet, in addition to the class divide, focuses on the mechanisms by which upper classes and the wealthy control the working class. The mechanisms by which they get people to vote and behave against their own interests. To obey, to consume, to keep the machine grinding along in a way that allows the wealthy to move forward and the lower classes to get crushed under the wheels of the machine.
Right.
And it really hammers the points home again and again and again that, like, it's not just the what, but the how.
Yeah.
And this movie is one of the only ones that I can think of that really tackles the how, and I love it for that.
So great.
I do think, interestingly, there is a certain class of person that might struggle to figure out who are the bad people in this movie.
You're right. I think there is a specific population of people that will see our beloved heroes as the bad guys.
For those of you listening in cyberspace, if you watched The Handmaid's Tale and you got to, like, season 3 and you're like, hold on, Gilead aren't the bad guys, are they? There's no way that Gilead are the bad guys in this narrative. If you found yourself saying that, this movie probably isn't for you, because you're probably going to take away the wrong message.
If you root for the Empire, this one's going to go over your head.
Yes.
It's all about order, okay? You know, we can't just have chaos, all right? Everybody in their place, and everybody gets to move forward.
Mise en place.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You are a shoe. Be a shoe.
Yes.
You got it.
Love it.
Everything in its particular order, and everything in its place. You are a shoe. Be a shoe.
That's so funny. I remember the line. I don't remember this action.
Yeah, it was the action of her, like, copying the mechanism by which the children were forced into controlling the train.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yes, we jest, but there's a certain part of the population that I don't think would respond well to this film. So if you understand not so subtlety well enough to understand what the fuck we were saying, don't watch this movie and probably don't listen to this podcast any longer. But other than that...
Right, yeah. So I briefly touched on this earlier when I say, you know, there's no better actor than a retired pro wrestler. And obviously that's not totally true, but I fucking love it when I see an actor that used to be a pro wrestler because I can't take them seriously. I just can't.
Like Tom Hanks.
Like Tom Hanks,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. He wrestled Daryl Hannah in that Fish movie.
Yeah.
Road to Perdition.
I thought my joke was pretty good, but fucking Mark got me there.
Snuck one in there.
Road to Perdition. Fuck you, Mark.
It's a funny movie. It's a funny movie.
That was... Mark won that. Good job, Mark.
Oh my god. But when I heard of this movie, I didn't know anything about it. And we were talking about, like, this is the movie that we're gonna watch on the podcast. I purposefully went in blind. I did not want to know anything about it. But the only thing I did know prior to this was that it was a John Carpenter film. And I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, I'm here for it. Then during the opening credits, the first name that pops up is Roddy Piper. And I got irrationally excited because I loved Roddy Piper in WrestleMania. Like, oh my God.
He's a fucking character, man.
Yeah! Roddy Piper did such a great job playing the character he was cast in this movie. Like, the whole movie's kind of ridiculous, but I would put Roddy Piper's acting in this film on the same shelf as that of Keith David.
Yeah, I have was one of my liner notes. It's silly, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And, like, a way that, like, allows you to excuse... Like, you can excuse a lot of the silliness for, like, 2 reasons. One, like we talked about...
It's campy.
The fucking aliens.
Yeah.
But 2, and more importantly, the camp, right?
Yeah.
Like, it rides that line so beautifully, which, again, is a very Carpenter thing, right? And you brought up Sam Raimi earlier. Sam Raimi is also a master of this. Like,
oh, yeah.
Having enough camp to where you can excuse shortcomings in writing, plot holes, design, whatever, but not so much that you don't take it seriously. Right? And they strike this nice, beautiful balance between, like, comedy, but also something to say.
Yeah, like, there were definitely some really funny moments in this movie, and some of them were probably not funny in 88, but it was just, like, there were certain points in this movie where all 3 of us were busting a gut laughing.
Yeah.
So, John Carpenter, lover of practical effects. I am also a lover of practical effects. Every one of his movies is just full of practical effects. There's not a drop of CGI that isn't necessary.
You like practical effects?
I do. I love them.
I don't like them.
And practical jokes. Actually, that's not true. I don't like those.
Practically speaking, I enjoy the effects.
There you go.
Yeah.
Practically speaking, I agree.
I feel like the one-liners kind of serve multiple purposes. You know, the levity is one. You know, I think that's kind of the on-the-nose sort of. It makes you chuckle. It makes you laugh. It's so quotable. But it also gives you permission, kind of as to what you were saying, Colin, to not take it seriously.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a believable thing that someone would say, but it is an enjoyable thing to hear someone say in that moment. Mm-hmm. And it sort of like reminds you that you're having fun watching a movie without like advertising that you're just watching a movie.
Yeah. Right, exactly. You're laughing, you're having a good time, you're watching a movie, but at the same, but then you're like, in the back of your mind, you're going like, yeah, but this, yeah, but this shit's really going on.
Yeah.
But they're doing it in such a playful and fun and, happy-go-lucky kind of way that it's like, it's so difficult to play with content like that, to get the mastery of the comedy and the message.
The self-awareness.
Married to each other. Yeah, and the self-awareness, exactly. Okay, so a big theme in this movie is the police are a function of the ruling class.
Oh,
right? The aliens. So the
jackbooted stormtroopers.
Jackbooted stormtroopers, as is the case in basically just the world, right? Like, government is threat of force if rules or laws are violated, right? Is ultimately what government is.
Yeah.
And who enforces that? There's usually a couple mechanisms that enforce that, right? Police, a handful of others. And in autocratic and in this case, plutocratic regimes have a tendency to be those sort of jackbooted stormtroopers, right? I loved that, first of all of the police were these things, right? Their job was to protect the vested interests of these beings.
To serve oligarchs and protect property.
But other than the handful of ones that he actually interfaced with directly, all of them, their faces were completely obscured. It was almost like they blurred them. They didn't, but
they had riot helmets on for most of it.
But their riot helmets were like the bottom of the helmet, like the bottom 2/3 of the helmet was like frosted. So like in practice, they wouldn't be able to see, but for the film, it looked great because it basically obscured all of their features and they were completely faceless. Kind of in the vein of like, if anybody's ever seen THX 1138, George Lucas's first film.
Oh.
The cops have like this sort of steel mask over their face. It's a little like that in that they are nameless and faceless and their job is simply to enforce the will of the ruling class. And fuck, it is such a subtle but effective technique. And I'm so glad that Carpenter incorporated it.
But you're right. I mean, so like all of the cops that we saw without the contact lenses or the glasses were obscured with the notable exception of like 2. Mm-hmm. And one of them was a guy that so we watched Roddy Piper blowing these guys away one after the other. And then he makes it into this alleyway and a cop stops him and he points the gun at him and he yells at him to drop it. And he's looking at him through the glasses and you can tell that he's looking at him through the glasses because it's black and white. Mm-hmm. And he shows up as a human being. And he does not hesitate to tell him to drop it. Like, he is not going to pull the trigger. He is not going to waste a human life. in the pursuit of eliminating this invasion. And that's, I think, the only cop we see without a helmet or a hat obscuring their face.
Yeah, and it wasn't until the cop like drew his gun to kill,
and it was
kill Roddy
specifically
Piper.
for the purpose of displaying that he is a human being and is just along for the ride.
Right. Well, and you're talking about Roddy Piper there, right?
Yeah, so like the guy, the cop that he tells to drop the gun, very clearly it shows a close-up of him as a human, and it's demonstrating that this cop may or may not be aware of the subjugating force that he's being oppressed by.
Well, the cop was an alien.
No,
not in this scene.
No, he's in an alleyway. We're not talking about the cops that he killed.
No, I know, but
there was a cop that drew his gun on him, and Rowdy has the shotgun on him.
Oh, you're not talking about the two that.
No.
That, oh, okay.
This is like
okay.
midpoint in the movie.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So he yells at him to drop it.
Yeah.
And the cop drops the gun, and he goes, "Now beat feet," and the cop just runs down the alleyway.
Oh, okay. I know where
only time we see a cop's face.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the two. Yeah, good point. Well, we do see those two, but they're
right. But they're aliens.
They're aliens. Yeah. Yeah, and back to the sort of like central theme and tenet of this movie, I feel it kind of gets summed up like in the very beginning, like as he's rolling into town, you see this dude he's blind, he's a preacher, and he's just like, waving his cane around and seems like the crazy man on the street who's like preaching sort of silly stuff. And,
the proselytizing madman.
Yeah, and he just sort of like kind of casually throws out this line of like, why do we love greed? Because our masters are there in the shadow and they tell us to.
Fuck.
And it's just so like it's such a beautiful through line of this movie. I say this coming on the heels of him letting that guy go kind of thing, is like one of the things that gets hammered home again and again and again is like we're constantly doing things against our own interest because we're told that, oh, it's every man for himself. It's cutthroat out there. You got to win because it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, we're all playing the game of life and everybody's playing to eliminate the other players.
Kill everybody else and, just get ahead. When like that's not true. That is a lie. And that is a lie that has been sold to you for the express purpose of getting you to do things against your own interest, but most certainly against the interests of everybody around you.
Because the only way to elevate is to step on other people.
Or so they say.
Right. That's the narrative that is being...
Yeah. And the crazy part of all of this is in real life and in the movie, is like, there's more than enough to go around.
Yeah.
There's more than enough to go around. What's that old line? Is like, we don't have people starving because we can't feed the poor. We have people starving because we can't satisfy the rich.
Right.
That is the sort of central theme of this movie. And I feel like it's illustrated so well in a lot of the scenes like that, where like, even though he is this exercise in contrast, where he is this destructive force trying to hold on to his humanity and not exercise his retribution against anybody who is, him, basically, who is his equal, who holds the same social standing as him. It's very interesting that they included scenes like that seemingly for that purpose.
Right. Do we have any other likes before we move into the dislikes category, which I'm sure will be very long?
There was one cinematic piece that I liked, so as per usual, I'm going to touch on the cinematography.
Sweeping vistas, you say?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of really cool sweeping shots. There was a lot of really cool, just what I would call B-roll.
I'll be your roll.
Oh, please do.
That's a yeasted bun.
So, yowza.
Mark, they can't see your hand.
Musty.
They didn't want to.
A little sourdough. So, we've touched on like the playful use of color. We've touched on the creative use of lenses. But one thing that I really liked, particularly in the scene where they are just storming through Studio 54 and wasting these aliens as they're making their way to the roof, every time they shot somebody, it showed a close-up side-by-side of the end of the barrel doing a close-up muzzle flare.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good touch.
Interesting.
It was a very interesting choice.
Very, very Carpenter. I feel like it's the kind of thing that like most directors wouldn't do because it's the kind of thing that you just shouldn't do.
Yeah,
then he does it because he's like, well, I think it looks cool, so fuck you.
But he does it. He does it in Halloween with the knife. He does it in The Thing with the flamethrower. Like that is a Carpenter signature. And so the fact that through this like 10-minute firefight, every time he kills somebody, it shows a close-up of the muzzle. I loved it. And the coolest part, like the funniest part for me, is from a directorial perspective. All you need to do is record that scene once and then cut and paste multiple times. So every time he kills somebody, you just splice that piece of film back in there and just, rinse, repeat. So from a directorial and cinematic perspective, it's a really fun use because he's like, I can use this shot 10 or 11 times. And he did.
Right. And it didn't feel jarring.
It didn't feel jarring. It didn't pull you out, And like we said, it was a Carpenter's signature thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's done this many times before.
Okay, so I got a couple that I'll try to march through real quick. One thing that I sort of just noticed, like literally as we were talking, I thought about it and I was like, oh, fuck, isn't that a... I just listened to a podcast episode from Stuff You Should Know, which is a great podcast you should check out. They did an episode on Studio 54.
Oh!
Which was, a very famous nightclub from the 70s through, I think, the early 90s.
Yeah, wasn't it a TV show, too?
Perhaps, but it was where all the movers and shakers went. It was the single most exclusive, high-end, fashionable nightclub in the world, you could say, at the time. And I'm sort of getting now, because again, this movie came out in 88 when Studio 54 was, if it wasn't at its height, even if it had closed down at this point, it was still very much in the sort of like public consciousness, right? It was very much in the zeitgeist. It was the name of the single most exclusive thing for the rich, famous, elite, and entitled.
Yeah.
Like, it was the place that they went, and I'm sorry, but the fact that the television studio was named Studio 54 cannot be a coincidence.
No.
Well, and but I never got that before until I listened to that episode on Studio 54, and I'm like, oh, fuck, that is so brilliant. Like,
I'm glad you brought that up, because 10 years later, in 98, Mark Christopher made a movie called 54, which was about Studio 54 in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that, like, I'm sure when this movie came out in 1988, that missed nobody.
No, I'm sure that everybody that watched that movie knew.
Yeah, but 36, 37 years on, it's become a much more subtle reference.
Yeah.
And it's so good. So I felt the need to call it out so those watching are like, oh, fuck, that's clever.
So we talked to this group of people earlier in the podcast. If you were born before 1970, you probably didn't miss that reference.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're our most loyal listeners.
Right.
Just, if you need to find a job.
Don't do what they did in this movie. Good luck. Good luck. Right? And good luck. Which is another reference for those of you born before 1970.
We're really courting that population in this episode. Okay, so this is not like a like or dislike, but is Roddy Piper fucking related to Dan Aykroyd?
I don't think so.
So he sounds like him, and by sound like him, there's two ways you can sound like somebody, right? You can have the same register, right? Like your voice sounds similar, and you can have the same accent, and he has both.
They're both Canadian.
Well,
all the Canadians are related.
So they're like half of Canada's population. There's only
there's
4 or 5 people in Canada. I think
there's 6 now.
Is there 6 now? Okay,
yeah.
So they're a third of Canada's population.
Yeah. Yep.
Fair enough.
The Pipers.
Yeah.
The Pipers.
But seriously, he sounds so much like Dan Aykroyd.
He really does.
I couldn't fucking get over it. Also, related to Dan Aykroyd, there is a scene in this movie, the movie we just watched, where I will stake my fucking reputation on
He
this.
literally paused the movie so that we could watch the scene multiple times.
Yes, I did. Okay, so those of you who have seen the movie Ghostbusters and are well acquainted with it, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 both feature a device being held, I think, in both films by Egon Spengler. And it is basically like a black handheld device, let's say about the size of maybe like a radar gun, right? Maybe comparable to like a radar gun without the long thing on the back. And it has these 2 metal arms that swing up that have lights, kind of blinking up them simultaneously. If you're familiar with the scene in the first one where he is looking for Slimer and goes up to the dude and kind of holds this device up to a guy's leg and then slowly sweeps up the body and then pushes him to see if he's real. That device features pretty heavily in the latter part of this film. Like, the people who are hunting them in Studio 54 all have this device.
Yeah.
And it is the exact same fucking device. There either must be a connection, somehow, like Roddy Piper is related to Dan Aykroyd, which is the most likely scenario.
Right. Yes.
The less likely scenario is that it was made by the same production company, and the prop department was the same, and they were like, well, we can fucking reuse this.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna notice.
But again...
We noticed.
Probably Roddy Piper is Dan Aykroyd's brother.
Yeah.
It's the most likely scenario.
Again, they're both Canadian. It makes sense.
It does.
It checks out.
They like bacon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was hilarious and a little, it's not an Easter egg, but like, you know, a little funny thing to look for. If you've never seen this movie or if you have and you're rewatching.
So, what did we not like about this movie?
Honestly,
Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
well, hang on.
Hold on. Is this going to be like Stardust again?
Well, no, like I,
Mark's gonna pull a fast. You know, but honestly, I didn't like this movie.
I feel like I need to put something in this box, you know, but
I didn't like how relatable it was.
Honestly, I got to agree. I was going to say this sort of in jest, but it is actually kind of a difficult movie to watch in 2025
Yeah.
from certain, like, personal standpoints.
But
Yes.
I agree with that, but I would still throw that in my likes because
Oh, yeah, necessary but difficult. Yeah, it's not necessarily a dislike, but...
I don't think there's anything that I didn't like about it. Like the criticisms I have of it are I can throw up to like camp.
Yes, exactly. That's the beauty of the camp of, like, Carpenter and Raimi and stuff like that.
And Romero, too. Yeah.
And Romero is the camp allows you to dismiss a lot of the shortcomings in the film. Like, you want to say, like, oh, the writing is cheesy. The lines are silly and over the top.
The aliens looked goofy.
The acting is not great. It's a little hammy.
I got
but,
it.
like, that actually adds to how good the movie is.
And it makes it age like a fine wine.
Yeah.
I got it. The chick, what's her face?
Holly Thompson. Breathy.
I did not like that actress.
I didn't either. But again, I chalked that up to camp.
Again, well, you know,
Yeah,
There's always one.
I agree and disagree with both of you. I agree. I didn't like her. I don't know if it was camp. So I disagree. I don't know if it was camp. But I do think the choice of an actress who is classically kind of attractive, but also sort of grates on you a little bit, and ultimately ends up being like
foil.
the bad guy,
Yeah.
like, is kind of a good choice.
Yeah,
Because I agree with you. She grated on me too. I didn't like her. I thought she was very annoying and way too much.
But it was poignant.
But then she ended up being the bad guy, and you're like, oh, wow, I wasn't supposed to like her.
It was poignant and classic.
and it does fit once you get the full narrative. Like you could also chalk up the things that I didn't like about her, or like her aloofness or whatever, that like intangible kind of like.
She doesn't seem threatened by him at all. She doesn't, like, all of that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I completely agree with you, because I'm sitting there as, like, if she didn't end up being the bad guy, I'd be like, fucking, they probably could have
should be.
recast her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if she wasn't important to the plot, it would have just been a throwaway.
Yeah.
So that's all I got for dislikes.
All right.
You know, it's
That's fair.
doesn't
Yeah, I
count.
definitely struggle to find dislikes, too.
Are we done? Quixote?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm gonna start us off.
Ready to Don Quixote?
Don
Yes.
Quixote.
I'm gonna throw out what I would probably argue is the single most prolific line in this movie. That's like it's gone places.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So in this scene, Mr. Piper he just got the glasses and he's kind of just like freaking out at this point, and he goes into this grocery store. He makes this announcement while he's got like a shotgun. He said, "I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum."
Fucking classic.
So funny.
See, I knew that quote, and I always attributed it to Duke Nukem.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not realize that Duke Nukem took that line from this movie.
Well, and, like, literally, like, there have been so many versions of that quote.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
it's been used dozens
I
and dozens
you know,
of times.
you see a meme of a baby, and it's like, I came here to drink milk and kick ass, and I'm all out of milk. Like,
Right.
You know, like...
Yeah, and it's been what was it called, like the Mandela effect or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, where like because I had always quoted this as, you know, I've come here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum, but it's the other way around. My next quote: Keith's character.
That Keith Sutherland.
Kiefer Sullivan.
Keith Sullivan.
Yeah,
Keith or Sullivan.
No, no.
Anthony Starr?
Frank is his name Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's being super pessimistic. He's walking with Mr. Piper, and he makes the comment, you know, the golden rule: he who has the gold makes the rules.
Fuck.
It hits hard.
I hate that. I hate it so much.
Yeah, Das ist nicht Circus.
Nazis.
If you don't like it, get your own damn quote.
Right.
Well, I think you should, Jackson. How many you got?
Oh, I got 7.
7. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're rounding to the nearest 7.
Yeah.
Not the nearest multiple of 7.
No.
Just the nearest 7.
Yeah, right.
which is usually 7.
So I think I hit 2 of them, or maybe 1 of them, but I'll just read them again. So Frank and Mr. Piper are walking from the construction site to the shanty town. And Frank has told him, he's like, hey, there's this place to stay. I can show you where to go. And Roddy Piper just doesn't say anything, just doesn't acknowledge him. And so he's following Frank to this place. And Frank stops, waits for him to catch up, and says, I don't like nobody following me unless I know why. And Roddy Piper goes, well, that's why I don't join up with anybody until I see where he's going.
Such a good back and forth,
like,
man.
oof.
So good.
But the second one is when he's in the grocery store and he looks at this old woman and he's like, you know, you look like your head fell into the cheese dip in 1955.
Yeah, she was an alien. Fuck her.
Right?
That shit's expired.
Yeah. And and Ain't Love Grand. We already touched on that one. So this next one is at almost the end of the movie, like right up to the very end. They've cornered this former homeless guy who turns out to be a sellout and shows up in the tux and everything. They've cornered him. They realize that their jig is up and they've got to blast their way out. And he realizes that they are going to waste everyone that stands in their way. And he goes, come on, man. We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team.
Oh my god. Mm-hmm. Again, a massive through line in this movie is exactly that, right? The greed and selfishness that gets pushed by those in power to those not in power, so they consume themselves instead of consuming those above.
Was it imposed complacency?
Yeah.
So this one isn't a quote necessarily. Well, it is, but so this one's more of an Easter egg to me. So at the very end of the movie, right between the blowing up of the satellite and the boobs,
that's a good place to be.
There is a television talk show going on, and the host is an alien, and he's talking about how there's too much sex and gratuitous gore on TV these days. And he says, filmmakers like George Romero and John Carpenter need to show some restraint.
I completely agree. That is definitely more of an Easter egg.
More of an Easter egg than a quote.
But so good, and actually something that, like I said, I've seen this movie probably 4 or 5 times. Mark, how many times have you seen this?
Oh, I don't know. Probably similar.
Yeah. Neither of us had ever noticed that.
It was so good.
It was Jackson that popped up. Who was like, "Wait, did you hear that bit at the end?" And we're like, "What?"
I was like, back it up right before the boobs. And this last quote is deeply unsettling. The keynote speaker at this grand ballroom full of class traitors and aliens alike is giving a speech. And in his speech, he says, our projections show that by the year 2025, not only America, but the entire planet will be under the protection and the dominion of this power alliance.
Yep.
Okay. I had absolutely zero recollection of that line. Mark, I'm going to assume that you also did not remember that.
No, I mean, I feel like that.
Anthony Starr?
Yeah. I mean, not verbatim. But
prior to this year, it was totally unimportant and irrelevant.
Yes. The fact that, like, we just ended up watching this movie in 2025 with the world in the current state that it's in was incredibly, I would say, both fortuitous and also, like, incredibly disheartening. Like, if you're going to watch this movie, you're going to listen to this episode and watch this movie, watch it this year, please.
Yeah.
Please do that.
Mm-hmm. It's like Back to the Future 2, you know?
Yeah, watch it in 2015.
Yeah.
Right.
If you can. If you're able to get around to it, do it.
Different reasons. But
watch it.
Yes.
Watch it 10 years ago. Hop in your DeLorean.
But yeah, that was a potent
that
fucking
one
quote.
Punched me in the fucking gut. We had to back it up a couple times just so I could get the wording right.
All right, so I got a couple quotes here. The first is one that hits kind of close to home when you think about it in the context of the American socioeconomic system over the last 25 years. This was Keith David talking to Roddy Piper in the beginning when they're kind of discussing how bad the world has become and the current economic state. He goes, yeah, steel companies in trouble all over Detroit. Eventually they unfolded. Yeah, we gave the steel company a break when they needed it. You know what they gave themselves? Raises.
That sounds sounds so familiar.
The thing I love about that quote is like it would never happen in real life.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Right,
No,
it's
it's so
very-
far removed from reality.
It's very unlike anything that people would do.
Yeah.
It just reminds you that like, hey, I'm watching a movie and none of this is real.
It's sci-fi.
It's sci-fi, exactly. It's a sci-fi thriller.
Yep.
It's a desert adventure.
Sorry, that was me screaming into a pillow.
Another one, again, fucking gut punch. I think it comes from the guy in the television who's like interrupting the signal in the beginning of the film, and he's warning people, trying to wake people up. He says, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. That is their survival mechanism. Keep us asleep. Keep us sedated. Keep us selfish. Which is the, I think you've probably guessed by now, a strong through line in this movie, and summed up very nicely in the sense that, like, that's their goal. To maintain their power, that's what they need to do.
If you haven't gathered, this movie is not really about aliens.
Wait,
Yeah.
it's not?
Yeah, it could be.
What's
could
it about?
Be, could be some subterranean text.
Subterranean text,
if you will.
Oh my goodness, mole text.
Just gotta fall down an alley hole.
Don't.
Fall down one of Allie's hole, and you find mole text. Some mole has written, Jeremy's been here.
Subterranean messaging.
So the next one I've got, by the way, I've got like 7 of these, if you haven't guessed. The next one I've got is a conversation between Roddy Piper when he's trying to kind of recruit Keith David to, the cause, if you will. Keith David is like, I'm walking the line here. I'm trying to like sort of stay on the straight and narrow, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm walking the white line. And Roddy Piper comes back to him with, yeah, the white line's in the middle of the road. That's the worst place to walk.
It's good.
Oh,
Fuck.
man.
That is so good. That's a good comeback. All right, I got 2 more and then I'll shut the fuck up. One, very quick. I think it's said a couple times, just sort of in passing. It's written places. They live, we sleep.
Yeah, it's all over.
All over
Yep,
the fucking
it's-
place.
Yeah, behind the billboards and yep.
And then the last one to leave you on like a bit of a high note. Fuck. Kind of in the vein of the bubblegum line that Mark gave. I'm a little disappointed that this one didn't catch on in the same way that the bubblegum one did, but Roddy Piper at one point goes, brother, life's a bitch, and she's back in heat.
I want to use that one in my personal life.
Oh my God. Every day I'm going to use that.
Yep.
So good. Are we ready to arate this patate?
Riggedy, right?
All right. You want to go first, Jackson?
Sure. I'm gonna give this an 8.7.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hoffman lenses.
Ooh. Okay, good. I'm very thankful that you didn't take my metric.
Good.
I was worried about it. I'm going to go 8.2
Ooh.
sticks of bubblegum.
Nice.
Damn.
It's a chewy metric.
That's a chewy metric. I feel like that has been said at least in one bedroom in the world at some point. That's a chewy metric.
Looking at a double-sided ruler.
I'm going to give this movie an 8.1 alley holes.
Fair. I was originally thinking sleeper agents.
Okay.
Oh.
Because,
Because it's the sleepy sleep.
Right.
And they're agents.
Yes.
Awesome.
Quiet.
All right.
Phineas.
So we're done.
Yeah, this has been
Yeah.
fun, guys.
Let's wrap it up.
Peace out, Girl Scout.
Bah!
I don't know what I'm symbolizing when I do that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
But it's become tradition.
it has.
So,
So,
thank you.
are you back?
And now we're back.
We're back.
Oh my
man,
God,
we
dude.
didn't go anywhere.
That
what are
wasn't-
you gonna do?
Disjointed at all.
It was the audio version of pretending to go down the stairs while just lowering yourself behind a couch.
Yeah. In post, you can make that sound real exciting, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna sound great.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so we're back.
What do we
What
have?
do we have? We got a scene score,
Yeah.
something.
Just
Score of scenes.
Oh, you can't. We can't do that. We got
What's that?
a scene score.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck
Fucking
yeah.
scene score. What the fuck are you talking about?
Wait, we got a.
What the? You know what? Leave it in. Leave it in. Fucking leave it in. What are you talking about? A scene score? We
A
got
scene score?
No, we have
A scene score? Scene score.
See, that's how it's done. That's how it's done. That's how it's done.
Sometimes that's how it's done.
Jackson?
Son of a bitch.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Is that how it's done?
I think that's how it's done.
That's
Mark?
how it's done. That's how it's done.
That's how it's done?
Yeah.
Okay.
You think you're doing it any other way?
Okay.
You're not.
Okay.
Because that's how it's done.
That's...
Two in the hand is worth one in the bush.
I've heard this. That's a fact.
That is how it's done.
That's a verifiable fact. Okay. Science. Okay, so thank you to everybody who filled out our movie familiarity survey. To those of you who didn't, Jackson's probably going to kill you in your sleep.
It's possible.
I
He'll
still love you, but
The chances are never zero.
they're not.
As long as he doesn't find you, Colin will love you.
Which is fine. Which is probably pretty good because Jackson's vision, let's just say, it's not good.
I'll watch.
Mark will watch.
Murder cuck.
While they sleep.
Murder Cuck. Dude, you know what? I'm sorry. Another band name, Murder
Oh my
Cuck.
God.
Murder Cuck.
I would go see that show.
Honestly,
In these pants.
I am not entirely convinced I have not seen a band named Murder Cuck.
Oh.
Knowing my fucking taste in music, I have probably seen Murder Cuck live.
Now I just want to see a detective like in one of those procedural cop shows where they're talking about a witness and he's like, "Oh yes, a murder cuck."
Yeah, you need David Caruso like dramatically removing his sunglasses, just going, "Well, I guess he's a murder cuck."
Right. It's like Lenny Briscoe.
No.
So we had a good response this week. Thank you to everybody who responded. Average familiarity with this movie, probably the highest we've ever actually had. 5.5.
Wow.
Over the 50% threshold, which I was very
I
pleased
don't think
with.
that's ever happened.
I don't think it has. I think we had one that was on 5 at one point. And familiarity over 50%.
Hurts, doesn't
It hurts. It
Yeah.
brings the score back down. Jackson gave it an 8.7. Mark gave it an 8.2. Colin gave it an 8.1, which leaves us with an average score of 8.3.
Okay.
Now, we were just over the threshold of 50%, so our scene score, adjusted for everybody's familiarity, ends up at an 8.1.
Okay.
Which I think is obviously objectively the correct answer.
Well,
And we've established that my opinion on this is correct all the time.
It's just shy of a 1 point, or 0.1, if you will.
0.1, yeah.
Most people
Yes.
will refer to it as a 0.1.
Most in certain circles, they know it as that.
Yep.
8.1. I love it because 8.1 is fucking high.
Oh yeah.
In this movie,
Especially like Dolby Surround.
yeah, like this movie, fucking run to see this movie.
Oh yeah.
And while there is a certain level of familiarity with it,
There's a reason for that.
yeah, well,
Right.
it's high quality combined with high but not ubiquitous familiarity leaves it at still a very high scene score. This scene score should make you motivated to either go and see this movie for the first time if you haven't, or go and see this movie again if you haven't seen it in a minute, because
Yeah.
it fucking holds. It holds the fucking line. From 1988, it holds the fucking line.
Yep.
Is that it? Were we learned?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. That is all for the All Crep review. Thank you for listening. If you have any ideas for movie reviews, if you want to get involved and contribute to the scene score, get a peek at upcoming movies by taking our short movie familiarity survey, you can email us at 3, that is the number 3, menandabasement@gmail.com. You can also get us on our website at tmaab.podbean.com. TMAAB stands for 3 Men and a
Basement.
Basement. Also, we've got a tour coming up. Headlining,
This is a big one.
Oh, yeah. We've got KDPJ.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't want to miss that.
No.
Favorite
no.
letters.
Also known as Keith, David, Peter, Jason.
Yes.
Johnson.
Johnson.
Jordan.
Jimmy.
Jeffrey.
So it's actually KDPJJJJJJJ, in case you were wondering. We've also got The Alley Holes.
Definitely a must see.
Yeah, it's a nice tight fit.
Yep.
That's a dirty hole, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, you don't just go raw dog in The Alley Holes.
No, you'll need a shower.
I don't think a shower's going to do it, buddy.
Blood test.
You need a shot of penicillin.
Yeah.
And maybe an amputation.
Yeah.
Gotta get one of them puddle baths,
A puddle bath.
which you can find near the alley's hole.
Yes.
Pray tell, Mark.
I'm not going to.
No.
This is a kid's show.
It is. You're right. Yep.
Since when?
Well, there's tiers. There's tiers of kids.
Fair.
I drink them.
Yep.
We've also got A Slack Nothing.
Yeah. That's a pretty scant show.
It is. Yeah. I mean, their album that just came out, The Smell Between the Pleats.
Yeah. Keeps it all together, but it goes down real smooth.
It is a stanky show, and let's just say
It's short, but it stays with you.
A Slack Nothing probably should shower more.
Yeah.
But they need to be careful while showering because the band on stage 4, Murder Cuck, will be watching.
Oh, without
And
a
if
doubt.
Murder Cuck is watching you, you can be goddamn sure that you're probably about to get murdered.
Yep.
You can be damn sure that Murder Cuck is always watching.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's no question. They are all on tour now, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the YouTubes.
Or wherever you're listening to us right now.
Yeah.
I know I keep pushing this, but I'm going to bring it up again. Under bushes.
Under
Yeah.
bushes. Mark is a big fan of the underbush.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead and own it. Own it. Go ahead.
Aren't we all, though?
I feel like there could be some charm to the underbush. There could be some charm.
Is there a Slack Nothing under the underbush?
Well, it's not nothing.
But
it's got
there's a
me
Slack something?
Yeah.
The wilderness must be explored.
You know what you find in the wilderness?
The Goopadoop.
Alley's holes.
A Doug bump.
A Doug bump.
There's the deep cut.
So many things that we have explored on this podcast, including the Doug bumps. Check us out on any of those platforms or wherever the hell you're listening to us right now. And until then, I am Colin McLeod.
Marco.
Action Jackson.
And we'll see you in cyberspace.
Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum.
Murder Cuck.
I saw it happen.